Coming into this NBA season, Pelicans fans expected pretty great things. Maybe not all of them, but at least I did. The New Orleans Pelicans have been bad this season, and they haven't just been bad. They've actually been terrible. When you look at the roster, you can expect a team that would compete for at least an 8 seed, but that hasn't been the case at all. With the Anthony Davis trade, the Pelicans were supposed to receive new life. They were supposed to be expected to, again, be competing for that 8 seed or better. We were sold on the promise that Jrue Holiday would be an MVP candidate this year, which didn't happen, and it's not Jrue's fault. That was just a giant expectation to be placed on him. The New Orleans Pelicans, again, show no signs of getting better. Alvin Gentry has led this team to one of the worst records in the league, and we can see the Pelicans resorting back to a lot of their old ways. You see, before David Griffin got into office, we had somebody by the name of Dell Demps, and honestly for a long time I thought that Dell Demps was somewhat of a scapegoat. I thought that he had to make a lot of moves for a team that wanted to win now. Not all moves that I thought he really wanted to make, but honestly, during his time in New Orleans, Dell Demps wasn't exactly the best GM. We had bad signings and we had questionable roster moves, but of course what team doesn't? I think everything started to go south when the team fired Monty Williams. Of course, a lot of fans were calling for the firing, but that doesn't mean you should do it. For all of Monty Williams' flaws, he got the most out of what was dealt to him almost every time. He was a coach that was able to get a team to play hard and fight for wins. The first year the New Orleans Pelicans made the playoffs with Anthony Davis, things seemed hopeless. The Pelicans would be under 500 and Anthony Davis would go out with an injury that would keep him out, I think, a week or so. Monty Williams was able to get that team to fight hard and push through. They would get over the 500 hump late in the season, Anthony Davis would return, and they would make their first playoff run. This brings me to the topic on, is it a coach's job to make the team play hard, or is it just on the players? Because a lot of Pelicans bloggers have been tweeting during the Alvin Gentry saga that it's not on Alvin Gentry at all if the team isn't playing hard. As a matter of fact, it's on the players. And as a matter of fact, I've seen this on basketball Twitter before. I don't think it's an uncommon thought. With Monty Williams being fired, Dell Demps will be able to bring in his guy. He'd be able to handpick a coach. He would choose Alvin Gentry. You see, with Dell Demps firing in New Orleans, the Pelicans would get a breath of fresh air. At least the fans would. Because the failed Anthony Davis saga would be associated with Dell Demps. So would the failed playoff aspirations, and so would the old Pelicans franchise. David Griffin gets the next Pelicans vice president job. And fortunately, the Pelicans hire a very smart guy from the Nets to become the next GM. I like him a lot. Langdon is a smart guy that breathes basketball culture. I know he's going to be a great VP for a team someday. When you look at what he was a part of, and how he helped dig the Nets out of what was one of the worst situations in the NBA, you have to be impressed. But anyways, with the hiring of David Griffin, it was a confusing move on why the New Orleans Pelicans and David Griffin would decide to retain Alvin Gentry. A lot of Pelicans fans understood that this would be a clean sweep of the organization, but it wasn't exactly that. And with the record and team that the Pelicans have put together this season, you might see why they would have wanted one. Anthony Davis has been thriving in Los Angeles with LeBron James. As a matter of fact, the King is holding things down in LA. Before Anthony Davis would be traded to Los Angeles, the Pelicans wanted to play hardball. And I'm talking about extreme hardball. David Griffin would want to make things known that Anthony Davis was not on the trade block and he wanted to work things out. But Anthony Davis had other plans. During a 12-game losing streak, New Orleans remains reluctant to trade JJ Redick, according to league sources, on top of the team's 2 presumed untouchables, Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. Yet, what that also means is Jrue Holiday is indeed available. League sources say it would surely cost a significant amount to pry him away from the Pelicans, but this is a notable change in the status given how unavailable Holiday was to interested teams last season. Now, my first immediate take from this is that it doesn't make sense that JJ Redick would not want to be traded. JJ Redick is 35 years old, he's made the playoffs an absurd number of years consecutively, and he's a player that can immediately help a playoff team. Also, on top of that, the Pelicans only have JJ Redick for 1 more year. It doesn't make sense to have him taking away from what other younger players can bring in development for the future of the franchise. So what I'm saying is, it makes sense on almost no avenues. But when you tie this in with what went down with the Anthony Davis trade, it all starts to make sense, along with what he just said about Jrue Holiday. Griffin said that his stance on trading Jrue Holiday hasn't actually changed. So he was disagreeing with the reports that are coming out saying that these are all speculation and that these are not true. David Griffin is a very smart guy that is a very savvy NBA GM when it comes to trades. So I think that what he's trying to do is just get the most out of teams, which I cannot blame him for doing. This video, we're going to be discussing trade rumors for the Pelicans and destinations for Jrue Holiday, along with the updated Zion Williamson news. I am here to bring you guys the truth on everything that has been said so far. But before we go any further, guys, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You will not want to miss another GETLIKECOOP video. And that's facts. I'm trying to get to 200,000 subscribers so that I can go full-time, guys, and bring you daily content. So be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I've been seeing everybody's messages on IG, and I will be sure to get back to you guys really soon. I appreciate all of the love, guys. I honestly try to respond to everybody that's supporting and saying something positive about the channel, or if you have honest critique. But also be sure to follow my IG handle, GETLIKECOOP. You will not want to miss another post. So assuming what I said about David Griffin is right and Jrue Holiday is actually available, there are some teams that I would like to see Jrue Holiday on. One of those teams being the Los Angeles Lakers. Now I know salary-wise it doesn't make a ton of sense, if any at all, but Jrue Holiday is very good friends with Anthony Davis, and he's actually from the Los Angeles area. I would love to see Jrue Holiday be able to play alongside Anthony Davis and LeBron James. He could be the final piece that that team would need, if they even need another piece to solidify them as undoubtedly the best team in the NBA. He's a monstrous two-way player that can take players out of games completely and take his game to another level in the NBA playoffs. I'm honestly not sure the Lakers have the proper assets to make a trade like this happen either. A much more reasonable trade target for the Los Angeles Lakers would be JJ Redick. Another team with the assets and the salary to make a trade for Jrue Holiday work is the Denver Nuggets. They have a lot of young players that should interest the New Orleans Pelicans, and truth be told, they might not even have to give up a pick because of how good their young players are. A trade that could make sense is Gary Harris, Malik Beasley, and Hernan Gomez, but honestly, I'd be much more interested in Michael Porter Jr. Any offer that has him in it, I'd probably become an immediate buyer. Let me know if that's an overpay or an underpay down in the comments below. I also think in a Jrue Holiday deal, the Pelicans would have no problem attaching other vets to make things work. Now, this last team that I'm going to suggest for Jrue Holiday makes entirely too much sense, and as a matter of fact, it seems like their entire fan base wants him. It's the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat trading for Jrue Holiday would probably be a dream move, at least for the Miami Heat. They would be able to give up Dragic, Winslow, and perhaps a first. The Miami Heat have been phenomenal this season, and they have wins against some of the toughest teams in the entire league. Unfortunately, I haven't made a Miami Heat video this year, but it's coming soon. Bam Adebayo looks like an all-star, and Hero looks phenomenal alongside Kendrick Nunn. Unfortunately, I don't think the Heat would be willing to give any of those guys up for Jrue. One writer thinks otherwise. He says a trade of Holiday and Jahlil Okafor for Hero, Kendrick Nunn, and a filler would work. If you're going to be bad and you want Zion to return, you use pieces around him to get better. If they weren't going all in for Westbrook though, I'm not sure they would be the ones to go all in for Jrue giving up Hero. But again, thinking of a defensive rotation of Jimmy Butler, Jrue, and Adebayo sounds absolutely filthy. Oh yeah, I forgot to add that the Heat are reportedly interested in Jrue and reportedly out on Chris Paul. So with Zion Williamson, we finally have a major update. We have something to go off of. David Griffin said that Zion has made really good progress. They're going to go beyond the 8-week point. We already know everybody is excited to see him. This is a major time for him because everything now is fully weight bearing. If we were going to see a setback for him, we see him right now. The team misses him, and he brings a different element to the Pelicans. Everyone is excited to potentially have Zion Williamson return. Now, the Pelicans again have been bad this season, and I would kind of want the Pelicans to lean towards not letting him play this season and let him work on his body to get into basketball playing shape instead of throwing him back out there, which I'm sure the Pelicans are going to do, but it seems like he may still return this season. It's worth noting and emphasizing that David Griffin said, "I think we're a little ways away, but this is a really big first step." The Pelicans have had what feels like a record number of injuries this season, and I'm not sure it seems to be getting any better. Aaron Nelson helped extend Shaq's career, who was a big guy playing in one of the fastest systems. Let's hope he can do the same for Zion Williamson and help him have a healthy long one. I have to say though, it was good to see Zion just return to shooting. Be sure to click the video on the screen right now, guys. It's me going over Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, how they can get even better. Be sure to subscribe. I'm GETLIKECOOP, and I'm out.